Okay, today we're going to be learning how to make some masks, and we're going to start with the first one where you use a plastic mold that you can get at any kind of art store. I've got two different ones here. I've got a clear one and one that's a little bit deeper, but they're both plastic. Okay, so the first problem you run into when you make a mask using a plastic mold is that clay sticks to plastic. So in order to get that ready for yourself to use, you've got to have a piece of paper towel or newspaper or something to put over top of your mask. So I've got one here. I'm going to set it over the top. Oops. That'll work just fine. And then the next thing you have to have is a large rolled slab of clay ready to go, and it has to cover the entire surface area and then some. So taking my slab of clay, make sure my newspaper stays underneath, I'm going to drape it over the top. Okay, so next thing is that it will start to crack in some places, so you're definitely going to want to have some water on hand to make sure that that doesn't keep cracking. And then you're going to massage the clay to kind of get it to loosen up and give you a little bit of a be able to stretch a little bit. These molds are not designed to give you every single little detail. They're designed to give you the approximate positioning of the mouth and the nose, the forehead and the eyes, but they won't give you any details. So the first thing you do is you really are just massaging in that water and stretching out the clay so that it can go all the way around the mold and really form itself to it, and so you can see at least the positioning of each of those facial features. Okay, so right now I'm just really pushing and massaging in the clay. And it's going to start to break in some of these places, and that's just fine as long as it's below this level right here. Okay. I'm going to start finding and defining those cheekbones. So I'm going to cut this out. You want to leave just a little bit of a gap there so that you can make sure that it fits all the way, because as we know, clay shrinks. You have to have some leeway for some shrinking. Now if you're going to have any kind of a headdress, you would have wanted to leave that on there and put like a bat underneath so that you could actually find it later, or you had something to build on later, excuse me. Okay, once you get that done, then you're going to start really working in the eyes. I'll turn it upside down so you can see. Find the eye holes, the sockets, and define the nose and the mouth. And it's not going to be super obvious. You have to really spend some time. Okay, so first things first is I always kind of put on my nose. And there's two ways that you can put on a nose. Number one, you can carve out the center here and do a pinch pot and set it on the top. Or you can take a solid piece of clay, form it into a triangle, and when you're completely done with the mask itself, you can take it off and carve out the back. So I'm going to take this piece of clay, I'm going to form it into a large triangle. Like this. And I will plan on carving this from the back. So I'm going to spray it. And then I'm going to knit it on. So I've got my triangle here, and I am knitting this on. Now, one thing you have to understand about a face is that the tip of the nose should be quite large. It should stick out the furthest from the face. I'm going to push that up into kind of a pointed slope, and as it comes towards the eyebrow bone, it's going to slope down. So I'm going to really make sure that that's sloped downward. And I am going for a giant cartoon nose. If you're not going for a giant cartoon nose, this is probably a bit too much clay. Okay. I'm going to really work out that nose. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my nostrils. So in this part, it's probably easier to kind of push down right there, okay, to get the bridge of the nose. And then start using your thumbs, actually, to carve that C shape of your nostrils down and around. So again, using your thumbnails and thumbs to carve around that C shape, like that. Okay, so there's that. And then the next thing you're going to want to do right away is put in your nostrils. So normally what I do is I just take my 2 fingers and quite literally pick his nose. So right there, and right there, and you've got your nose holes, or your nostrils. And then I'd spend a little bit more time shaping this nose to be whatever kind of nose I want. As long as it's symmetrical, meaning if you draw a line down the center of the nose, it's the same on both sides. It doesn't really matter what kind of a shape you choose. It can be flat and wide, long and skinny, gigantic, but if it's crooked at all, then it's going to look like somebody broke the nose. Okay, I'm going to refix my nose holes. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to get ready for the eyes. And the eyes, you've got to have some sockets there to even work with. So you're going to have to make sure that these sockets are nice and deep. Okay, and I'm going to turn that around again. The sockets are nice and deep. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so you can see that. Sockets are nice and deep. And then you're going to take a ball of clay, okay, about that size, maybe a little smaller. And you're going to put it on the actual into the socket, okay? This will be bigger than you think, but not gigantic. Well, unless you're making big eyes, I guess. Okay, so next you're going to take a roll or coil, and you're going to add a couple of eyelids, and there's a couple things you have to do here. So the first thing I'll do is I take one eyelid and put it directly underneath, pinch it off. Take another eyelid, put it directly over the top, but slightly over that ball of clay, so you have some space in between right there. Okay, and then I pinch that off. And then I'm going to work that in just a little bit. So I'm going to take this, and you want it to be bigger than you would think because you're going to get rid of some of the clay just by knitting it. And the same thing here. You want some of that space left over. Okay. Okay, and then you're going to add another coil over the top of that to get that eyelid, and then you're going to knit this in both ways. That's how you start a basic eye. I'm going to knit these two together to form the eyelid. And then you work from there to sculpt it. And you can soften it. And this you can pull out. Start pushing that in just a little bit to make it more realistic. Okay, I will do or demonstrate lips on the next video.